All right. Okay. Oh my God, Chad! It's been one of those days. Jesus Christ! Something's messed up in my streaming software for sure. Because I don't know. It keeps turning off my microphone, and I don't know why. It's still connected. It just doesn't pick up. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. What the fuck is happening? This sucks because this is the second time it's done this. Yeah. Apologies for late here today, chat. It was an interesting day. I had to step out for a second. When I came back, all my internet was dead. So I was like, cool. So we had to get that fixed. Took me a little while, but we're finally here. Internet doing internet things. Yeah, I know, crazy. We used to have a saying, for T5S2, it wouldn't be a T5S2 stream without technical difficulties. Guess it wouldn't be a TacticalTortoise Tactical Tuesday without technical difficulties. We're all about technical traditions today and Tactical Tuesday. But anyway, chats, I want to talk to you about a fabled event. One that has been foretold for many moons. A super major that we have not covered at all on this channel. Not for lack of trying. I was going to cover it last week. I had some problems with my computer burning out. And so I wasn't able to stream last week. And then also, the event hadn't ended. And I was like, well, that's fine. I'll see what the final results are. I assume that on Tuesday, it still has a day to go or so. And we'll see what the final results are. And we'll do some recap of it. Now, we are a full 9 days, after the end of the event, the official end, or 9 days, yeah, after the end of the event, according to BCP. It has still not been close, and all of the games have not been submitted. So I don't know what's happening with this event, but I want to try to talk about it because it's a very large event with a kind of a weird format, which I think is cool and fun. However, it's difficult. It's gonna be, you'll have to bear with me here, because it's gonna be a little bit of an adventure. And that event is the Paris War Game Expo. So this was, and this kind of took me by surprise, this is a 400-player super major that went down in France. I did not know this was happening. Apparently, I mean, it was a pretty big deal. We had some big names attend it. Kyle Grundy, Manny Chima. There's pretty big names at the top end of this event, but it was the first time I'm hearing of it. I guess super enmeshed into the European 40k scene, so that might be part of it. And the interesting thing about the event, chat, is that it used a bracket system after a top cut in order to determine the finals. However, as you can see, I don't believe any of these brackets have been played. So I think this is cool. This is basically the format that we use for T5S2, where we do in that case it's top 16. It's top 16 out of all the entrants, which is usually, I don't know, this is 500 or so. And then we take the top 16, we play them through a bracket system to begin with, and then we cut them to top 4 undefeated, basically. Or top 4 in each of their groups. In this case, what we did, if we go back to our round 6 here, they went 5 rounds with 400 players, and then they took the top 8 for round 6 and they cut it, and they played through to round 8, and then I think they just ended it and declared Death Guard the winner. It's kind of the vibe that I get. I'm not 100% sure. This game didn't get played, I guess. This was like a 0-0 draw. Oh, hello. Thanks, BCP. What the... Okay. Tau Empire won this one. Manny Chima lost, so theoretically would go to a loser's bracket game, I think, against Tau again. And then the winner out of this, I think, would play Manny and then replay Alban de Polignac for the Grand Championship spot. However, I don't think any of that happened. I think they just called it, maybe. Unfortunately, this means that this event never got closed, so we can't see who placed. So we're going to have to figure it out ourselves, chat. It's going to be a whole thing. So anyway, it's not an RTT with differential scoring. It's not. We love the old differential scoring RTTs. Good for practice for team events, I guess. But man, is it awkward for singles? No, they used regular scoring. It was all regular system, and they used this bracket thing. And I think the bracket thing is cool. I think the bracket double elim has a lot of really cool implications for Warhammer 40k events. The problem is that Warhammer 40k takes too long. A round of 40k takes 3 hours. If you were to play out a tournament with like a double elimination top cut, that top cut would take like a week or like 2 or 3 days in order to actually resolve, which is why we only use double elimination for a couple of rounds in the T5FC Invitational, because otherwise the Invitational games, assuming that you can schedule 1, maybe 2 games a week, the Invitational would end up taking like 2 months in order to actually resolve. And that's part of the problem with it. But I do think that higher reps is more representational in 40k because 40k has a lot of variance inside it. As we're talking about it in a competitive format, there are so many things like matchup, like mission, like seats, first versus second, attacker, defender, that can wildly change how a matchup works, that I think having players go through more rounds is significantly better. The problem is the time investment it takes to do that for a game that is, generally speaking, non-professional. It's a lot easier if the players are like getting getting an appearance fee or something in order to do that, but or some sort of a team, paycheck or whatever, like you see in esports. But for a casual game, what is generally a casual game, it's very difficult to do. So I was really excited to see this format because I think it was really cool. But then I was like, oh, I don't know who won. But what we can do is talk about the top cut. I am operating under the assumption that Albin here has actually won. If this will load, thank you so much, VCP. I assume that Albin wins. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that's how it goes. But yeah, we'll see.
Ryan G donated $5 through Super Chat. So here's a question. What happens if you go to an event, let's say this one, and don't speak the native language? Is that allowed?
Is that allowed? So generally speaking, events will post the language that they are meant to be conducted in. We can even look at the player packet here. I'm sure it says it somewhere. And because 40k is a British game, English is generally the required language. Let's see if they have anything about it. They don't. All right. Well, fair enough. But usually, and sometimes it's in a circuit rule or something like that. Usually, it will be the rule of the day that they will necessitate a language you played if it's like a multinational event like this. And 90% of the time, it's English because that's the language the game is written in, right? It's assumed that you're playing it in English, and that's why a lot of the rules are written the way they are. So most of the time, what you'll find is that people expect to use English when they go to these events, and then if they pair with somebody who speaks a different language and they and their opponent can speak a different language, a lot of times they'll do that. But it is generally speaking the case that they will be required to speak English. The player pack is all in English, yeah, for sure. I mean, sometimes those are just like weird translations, but yeah, that's a good indicator that it is how it is. That is in English. If Warhammer Tabletop becomes extremely popular after the Henry Cavill movie, maybe teams or people will get sponsorships and be more professional. Oh, maybe. I don't think it's ever going to be the point where people are like, we're at an esports level. I just don't think that it's an industry thing in addition to being like a time frame thing, right? There's just like tabletop gaming doesn't have a lot of money in it, like generally. It's difficult to get into. There's a high overhead. There's a high cost of entry for players. You compare it to video games and even esports it's only limited in terms of its return. It's actually kind of a low. It's not a huge moneymaker. It's a good marketing opportunity for a game or for a development studio or whatever, or an event. But it's not. It doesn't like you're not going to make a ton of bank on ticket sales or whatever, like pay-per-view or like Twitch subscriptions on your Twitch stream. compared to production costs for an event, if you're running something like a Dream Hack or something, and you compare production costs of that to what they make back from sponsorships and things like that, it's probably, maybe they break even, I would imagine. But a lot of it's going to be sort of advertising opportunity that incentivizes games to participate. And 40K, there's just not money in it for that. It has, I think, the support for a very for a limited number of like professional groups. I mean, we have Vanguard Tactics, we have Art of War. There's a couple places that do like sort of focus on competitive Warhammer 40k full time. And even then, I mean, honestly, it's like largely Art of War, right? Is like kind of the whole thing as an organization, I should say. Obviously, like there's people like me who can do it individually, but obviously my overhead's all very much slower than a full organization with a bunch of people and paychecks to pay. I'm okay with making nothing per hour. That's okay with me. But I'm sure that a group, an organization of 20 or 30 people would not be. And even if it gets like, let's say it doubles in size, right? Maybe we grow to the point where we can support 2 or 3 Art of War teams. Is that enough to sustain like a full esports economy? I don't think so. Where we're able to run these events where players can travel, around the world and play for 2 weeks or whatever, like you see from like things like these huge chess championships or these huge esports championships, where they take a really long time to resolve. I don't know. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I don't think like people aren't going to quit their J-dubs to play 40K in droves here. So I don't know. It's a whole thing. The Overwatch League was highly profitable. yeah, exactly. That's a good example. Put millions and millions of dollars in the Overwatch League, and then everyone left. Because it's a whole thing. Getting Warhammer to an esport level may be hard to do because of the time requirement. Yeah, that's exactly the problem. Yeah, if it had a faster iteration time, even if you could get 40K down to 2 hours, you could play 5 rounds a day. It would probably be I don't know. It would go a long way, but it's so difficult. You get to an issue where the physicality of moving the miniatures around and the requisite number of miniatures around the table ends up just taking up so much time in and of itself that regardless of how mechanically simple you make the rule set and easy to resolve, it's always going to take a minimum amount of time. And I think, generally speaking, if you ever see, speaking from experience, as someone who has built a competitive game meant to be played in 60 to 90 minutes, it's generally speaking, you're always going to even in a highly competitive format, edge towards that upper end of that spectrum because of the physicality of miniature games, because there's so much physical movement involved, because there's setting up of pieces and terrain features and deployment zones and all that shit, that basically, regardless of the format, unless you are playing like on a grid with 6 models per side, you're in for like minimum an hour, almost regardless of what your rule set looks like. And Warhammer 40k being a relatively high model count game, you're almost certainly in for 2.5 hours. 9th edition, we got it down to 2. You could get a round in under 2. But obviously there was a little bit of a give and take there. 9th edition was very lethal. That made the late game very easy to resolve typically. Whereas in 10th edition, it's much more complex. And the mission structure was much more simplistic than it is in 10th edition. And I don't think it was necessarily better. I do miss a little bit the mission structure, but a lot of times the result of the game was predetermined by your mission selection. So, I don't know. It was a whole thing. There's a cat, by the way. Just about to eat a computer. Lilac, what are you doing? Just looking cute. Nice. Imagine if sweatiness in Warhammer was an esport type thing. Yeah, I don't know if it would really. I think it would be interesting. I would certainly. I think I would kind of like it, but that's sort of my vibe. I think it would certainly make the system more interesting. Definitely, Inky in the brain. That's true. She's the brain. She's a smart cat. Inky's a moron, but she's cute though. Hi. You gonna play with the toy down there? There's a toy down there. She does tricks, by the way, chat. You want to see her do a trick? She does a. Here. Where's it good? You're not gonna be able to see it now that she's off the thing. Oh well. All right. Well, she did it. You just have to take my word for it. I do sweat a lot. Yeah, for sure. There you go. All right. Well, chat. That was certainly an interaction. All right, let's talk about the actual winners of this event. That's an interesting tangent about Warhammer 40k and esports and playing multiple rounds and stuff like that. Let's talk about the actual results of this tournament. So what I want to do is talk about the top cut. So championship bracket of top 8 was pretty interesting. I will say, first of all, the level of diversity in top 8 here, out of 400 players, all 8 were 8 different factions, which is fucking sick, chat. As we continue to see, the metagame is amazing. While we can say, I think Eldar and I think Tau are too strong, in my opinion. I think by the level by which they're too strong is so minuscule compared to the levels of balance that we've seen in other editions. It's crazy. And it allows so many other factions to compete. It's not like there are some matchups which Eldar will just kill you. But it's few and far between, and especially things like Tau. Sometimes they just lose. Sometimes missions not good for them. Eldar, they hit like a purge the foe and they have a bad time. And that opens up the top of the metagame for a bunch of different stuff. Now I think we should talk about. I don't want to bury the lead here. Talk about Death Guard at what I assume is first place. We'll see. In a virulent Vectorium. There's a Norn in the thumbnail. That's a generic one I use for a placeholder if I haven't made the thumbnail yet. The thumbnail has Mortarion on it. If you go and look. But yeah, I have one. I have a different one for each of the weekly shows that I use, and Tuesday has a Norn because I don't know. I think Norns are cool. So when I post up the event just to have a thumbnail on it, I have one with the Norn Emissary, and I think I have a Bloodthirster on the Monday show, and then Warhamster Wednesday is just the Warhamster. Right now, I'll have to make a cool one for that one. So we have, let's see, Biologist Putrefire. There's a Demon Prince of Nurgle, which actually is interesting because I have not seen these guys too often. It seems like they've been sort of falling by the wayside. Double Lord of Contagion, one with the Demon Weapon, which is the critical 5s, I think, right? I'm gonna fact check myself here. It's confusing because is that one or the Plague Furnace, which is the other one that's like also really good. It seems like this is, I mean, this detachment has just a crazy number of enhancements for these units in particular. Yeah, Demon of Nurgle 5+ critical hits. So you get 5+ lethal sustains on your Lord of Contagion, second Lord of Contagion, Malignant Plague Caster, plus a Tallyman. It's only the Plague Caster. Oh no, there's Putrefire. It's literally the first entry. So we have the Putrefire plus Plague Caster combo. A hamster-dressed Kriegsman. It's got a little gas mask on. That would be sick. Big unit of 10 Plague Marines, 1 Chaos Rhino, 2 Chaos Spawn for utility, 2 units of 3 Death Shroud Terminators, triple Blight Launcher HBLs, double Myphitic Blight Haulers, double Boxwalkers. On level chat, basically normal Death Guard stuff. If there was a Death Guard list, it would be this one. I think there's more build variety in Death Guard than we give them credit for. Virulent Victorium definitely is the most interesting one. The big thing is that they're unmaneuverable. You get a lot of problems with Death Guard when they run into situations where you outmaneuver them. So one thing I've noticed that happens very often, and it's like every game you see these lists that are focused very heavily on Death Shroud Terminators. And actually, this is a little bit of an interesting inclusion because we've actually been seeing people shy away from Death Shroud Terminators more recently. I think in my opinion, I've said this before, but I think the Death Shroud Terminators themselves are actually a little underpowered. I think the Lords of Contagion are ludicrous. They're insane. And the fact that the Death Shroud Terminators is the most expensive part of that unit is actually kind of wild. Because the Lord of Contagion basically does as much damage as the rest of the unit and doubles the rest of the unit's damage. So he himself is like 2/3 of their output. Plus he's incredibly difficult to kill. And then the unit's just kind of there as a delivery system for him. But they're extremely expensive, which is a little bit weird. But the problem is that the combination of all these models, right? Two Lords of Contagion for 250, 2 units of Death Shroud Terminators for 320. You're spending 570 points, almost 600 points on these units. They jump in and they kill something. And then oftentimes what happens is your opponent just leaves. And the number of times I've seen this, and the Death Guard player just collapses is crazy. Some of it is that you can't overcommit your Death Shroud Terminators. Like putting 2 Death Shroud Terminators into one position is actually a huge mistake. But usually, if your opponent's screening particularly heavily, or they aren't susceptible to early game shooting from the bloat drones or the blight haulers, the Death Shroud Terminators will come in and they'll just hit something inconsequential, maybe they'll take an objective, but then they live there for the rest of the time because they're too slow to really get anywhere else. It's the downside of like having to deploy on flanks, essentially, where they move 5 unit that you're trying to get close deep strikes into. So it's an interesting thing, and we've seen a lot of players that just cut them from their list entirely. Obviously, not the case in this event. I do have a suspicion that we were using WTC. I guess what we can do is double check here, because I do think that makes the inclusion of these powerful infantry units much better. This is so bright. Woo! I need more lights in my room, I think, in my my little studio here. Is there missions and layouts? WTC standard ruins. Oh, it's a unique layout system. Oh, these are neat. They have a unique terrain set. It's kind of like WTC Lite. It's actually, it looks like CA 2025 Redux. I actually like these. These are great. This is layout 2. This is layout 1. But they've collapsed all the ruins in, so there's less of ability to fight around the edges, but there's more line of sight blockers through the center. This terrain actually rules. As long as these gaps and these gaps aren't too close. Here's a problem on WTC where it restricts a lot of your model selection because you can't use things like land raiders, for example, because they just like get stuck behind all the terrain features. As long as these distances are far enough, I actually think these terrain sets rule. They look way more interesting than the regular CA 2025 ones, and they look less restrictive than the WTC ones. Man, shout out to Paragus War Game Expo for making their own terrain set. That's fucking sick, dude. Incredible. That's super cool. I don't know if they use wall screening, though. Adapted to objectives for lines of sight. That's cool, too. What a smart system. Each table can be played on any deployment with minimal changes. What the fuck? Has anyone played on this, chat? I want to hear feedback. I'm super interested in this setup. Because these seem really solid. These seem really super solid. Tower too strong, crazy for me to say that. My brother in Christ, watch any of my Monday recap videos. Tau are consistently the highest placing army every single week for the last month. They win 3+ GTs every week. I would actually love to give these a try. If anyone has them on TTS, hit me up, because I would love to play these. All right. Well, that's really cool to see, actually. I'm interested to see if they have these WTC house rules. It seems like they do. So I imagine they don't allow wall screening, right? So infantry can fight through walls, which allows these units to be way more effective because you can't restrict their ability to engage you from ruin blocking, which is great. I still won't play mine. It's true. Look at all that fucking Tau I have over there. It's so much. I have a huge Tau army that I've never played one time. I bought them in 9th edition when they were really going to be broken. And then, I guess I'm glad I didn't play them, but I sort of reminded myself that building an entire army is a lot of work, and I was like, I don't know if I'm super... I guess I would play Retaliation Cadre probably. I think that vibes my playstyle the most, high maneuverability. But I don't like the Monka Kauyon playstyles where you just play angle shooting the entire time. And whether or not your opponent pre-measures the angles of line of sight is basically determines whether or not you win the game. I don't know. Those games are not the most interesting or strategic in my opinion, but I do like the more mobility focused Empire armies. So speaking of which, chat, should we walk over to a new list? So congratulations to Albin for it seems like, I assume, taking down the event with Death Guard, a relatively underplayed army. Right now. at the time of recording. But we also have 8 more lists that we can talk about. I'm not a pool guy. Oh, I'm terrible at pool. I'm fucking awful at pool, dude. I kind of want to be good at pool. Like every time I play it, I have a really good time. And I can see like where I could improve, right? It's like it's the thing where, you know, you start playing a game and you're like, oh shit, I know exactly what I need to do to get better at this. And you get that like those like bursts of learning, but that's only because I haven't played pool. Like I play them like once every 6 months or something. I think it'd be, I don't know, if I ever get burned out and I retire or something, I burned out at 40k, and I'll just be join a billiards club and just play pool all the time. I actually have a great time playing the game. I'm just fucking awful at it. It's horrible. Why play Tau and Warrior and Flyer and Spam were amazing. I can't remember the order of releases. I think Tau was first. I believe Tau was before Tyranids dropped. Because Tyranids dropped kind of like mid edition, right? And it was kind of later. And they were, I don't know. That Tyranid Codex was disgusting. For a while, I didn't want to play it because it was like, the games were just like not fun, right? It was just like, I move my models forward. You can't do anything to me. I win. Cool. The balance was not amazing. Let's talk about some Adeptus Mechanicus chat. I think that should be good. We've got Josu David. Josu, maybe? Playing Halo Screed Battleclade. We got a Belisarius Call. Double Skitari, 1 Ranger, 1 Vanguard. Skystalker, Skystalker times 3. Infiltrator times 3, all 5s. So, no 10-man Infiltrators for the Taser Goad combo. Again, if we have this like solid trade in the middle, we can basically just like we can outscore our opponent by just filling the board with 5-man utility units. The other thing too, this isn't in Skitari Hunter cohort, so it's not quite the same here, but it does work in most cases. Where the Sicarian style infantry is actually really hard to kill efficiently because it's 2 wounds. It's basically a tactical brain profile with a 5+ invuln save. So a lot of times you're losing a couple more attacks than you expect. Even if you hit them with a pretty solid weapon, even in melee, and they just live with 1 or 2 models. The number of times I've seen a bunch of Taraxi live with 1 model is crazy. And then that 1 model, it passes Battle Shock, it wanders over, scores Engage, scores, behind enemy lines, something like that. And so having, in this case, we have 30 in units of 5 just running around the table. We then have 20 Rust Stalkers in units of 10 plus another 5er. So we have 35 Sicarians in 5-mans plus the 2 Rust Stalker bricks for hammer blows. Obviously, it's Halo Screed Battleclade, so we can advance charge and just blast stuff. Cerberus Raiders for more early game utility. It's probably a lot of move blocking as well. We just get Tyranxi Skystalkers, Cerberus Raiders. All of these can move multiple times, so they can all jet up the middle and screen out your opponent for moving. Onager Dune Crawler with Eradication, so we have the 5-up critical, sustained hits with a bunch of shots. Scorpius Disintegrator, Scorpius Dune Rider, carry around some of those Rust Stalkers probably. 1 Calidus Assassin, 1 unit of Iron Strider Balustrade to actually kill people. It looks like we're putting a lot on the shoulders of the Rust Stalkers here. It's not the biggest amount of shooting that we've seen in a Halo Screed. It should be enough between the Iron Striders and the Onager to blow something up, but you're not like, out shooting a lot of gun lines like you are in some of these builds that are running like 8+ Iron Strider Balustrade plus like 3 Onagers, for example. It seems like we're going to be trying to play a lot more of the trading game and a lot more sort of a finesse game where we're scoring off tactical secondaries quite a bit with that like fucking 35 dudes we got running around the table. That's a cool army. That's pretty neat. Do the French have any success with snakes? No, of course not. Tyranids are having a bad time right now. Although they did okay this weekend, actually. We got some Leagues of Votann going down over here. In Hearthband, even. It's not even Needguard Oathband. Honestly, Needguard Oathband feels like it's fallen off of a cliff. Now, to be fair, some of this, we've had some high-profile Hearthband finishes recently. Like we watched Battle for Salvation. We watched Drew Salzborn pilot a Hearthband to like do crazy stuff on stream. And he basically just stat checked his opponents out. Hey, I have 3 Land Raiders and fucking 20 Einhir Hearthguard. Or what are you gonna do about it? And if your opponent's like, I don't know, I guess I'll fight you in the middle. You're like, yeah, I'll win. Come at me, bro. So we have Uthar the Deskind, an Arcanist Evaluator, criminally underplayed model, I think. If he was 5 points cheaper, or maybe 10, people would play 3 of them in every list. The 75 points is like where he's actually comparable to a real character. You start to be like, I don't know. But this dude hops out, and then he just vaporizes like a 5 infantry, essentially for free. And he probably hurts himself a bunch, but he doesn't die, importantly. He also has Lone Operative in the early game, too, as long as he's standing next to an infantry unit. So you can have him like next to a unit of dudes who are behind a wall, and then he's out in the open, and he can run and go do objectives or stand on something. So he can help you hold down objectives, and then once you get close to him, he actually just kills the shit out of you. We have a call with Bastion's Shield, so that's the 12 inches. If you attack his unit within 12, you get they get Armor of Contempt, and then you can pay yield points when someone goes to shoot to increase the aura to 18 inches. So you'll put him usually with the 10 Einhir Hearthguard with the Teleport Crest. You'll rapid ingress them in basically the middle of your opponent's army, and generally speaking, they can't easily counterattack the unit, especially if you're smart with your rapid ingresses, so they don't get every gun on target. Because if you give them only the things within 18 inches to shoot back at these guys, especially if you're in Fortified Takeover, right? These guys are going to hop in, be -1 to be wounded, -1 AP. You're almost certainly not going to do anything to them. Now, you can play around it later on, right? You can pull back with your ranged attacks to try to deal with them. But on the turn that they hop in, there's like nothing you can do. We have 2 units of 5 Chthonian Berserks, a Chthonian Earthshaker unit, which is interesting. Might be a bit of a concession to like Eldar, for example, where you can pick out the infantry units. Honestly, Indirect Fire might be back in a big way because it's also good into Tau as well. I wouldn't be surprised to see more armies playing things like Desolators or anti-infantry shooting to knock out like Stealth Suit teams or knock out Aspect Warrior squads. I would not be shocked to see that. 2x5 Einhir Hearthguard. Those will usually go into Hecatan Land Fortresses. And then 10 Jaegers. Do we have a Capricus? There's 10 Jaegers, 3 Pioneers. Oh, it's the last line. I thought it was part of the copyright. Just sitting in the back there. This Capricus carrier to split the Jaegers into. The Pioneers, I think, are always important because they're OC6. That's something that gets kind of forgotten a lot of times by Leagues of Votann players. The thing is that they, like Votann, oftentimes only, they do not want to deal with 5 infantry models standing on an objective, because if they can't reach them, and maybe the Earthshakers help because they let you kill one before you get onto the objective with 5 Pioneers or 5 Hearthguard or whatever. But if you don't have any way to manipulate that OC characteristic, they'll go to take the objective and won't take it, and won't. If they're in Fortified Takeover, they won't get their Fortified Takeover bonus, and they also won't gain yield points from taking the objective. Obviously, the Hernkin Pioneers are a little faster. They are mounted, so they have to go around walls, but they're a little faster, and they're 2 OC each, so they can be 6. So you can beat 5 OC on an objective, which is kind of a big deal. And given how important taking objectives from people is in this particular faction, it's actually kind of necessary. Earthshaker Battle Shock ability is pretty useful at -1. Yeah, just for like knocking people off of objectives. It seems good. Yeah, I'm interested to try them for sure, or see them, I guess, played more. Good stuff. So a lot of times, like, we'll rock up the Hecatan Land Fortresses early. Try to rocket the Chthonian Berserks or the Hearthguard into something important in the early game, and then as your opponent comes in to try to deal with them, you rapid ingress the 10 Einhir Hearthguard, and they just do murders. Actually, I wonder if these guys actually are outside the transports and they just vibe, because they also have teleport crests, not weave fields, so they might just all be teleporting. We did see some players try to utilize them, at least in a Needguard Oathband, where they got Fortified Takeover really early. But we saw some people try to use them to like instigate the fight, basically. They would hop in and kill a utility unit, and then force their opponent to deal with them at -1. I don't know if that's quite as good in this detachment, but they do more damage in this one, because they get the reroll once to wound, and they have +1 AP. That's cool! That's cool to see Leagues of Votann doing well with a non-need guard list. Pretty neat non-need guard list. I think I have to. One upgrade I'm making. So I'm gonna be doing a bunch of upgrades to this studio in the next week or two. One upgrade I want to do is I think I want to fix the camera to the wall behind me here. I've noticed that now I've been standing up. As I move my mouse, the camera wiggles a little bit, which makes me sad. We have some absolute enormous titans of the game. I think we'll talk about them in a moment. I do want to talk about Grey Knights real quick, because like this selection of top players is crazy, right? Manny Chima from Glasshammer, amazing. Alexander Sacco, who we saw do incredibly well at LGT. Kyle Grundy, obviously one of the best top players in the world. Olivier Weiss, who some people have touted as being one of the best players in the game. All in the top 8 here. So the competition of this event was crazy. I wish it was live streamed because I think it would be sick, but I did not see any live streaming links. Unless I'm just an idiot, in which case ignore me. But if there is a stream somewhere, that would be cool. But some of these games I bet were incredible. Let's talk about Axel Dupre. Nope, not you, Manny Chiba. Excuse me. Button in there. I clicked on it again. God damn it. Here we go. Rocking some Warpbane Task Force. Let's go! We're rocking Castle and Crow. Double Nemesis Grandmaster. A Strike Squad. Double Interceptors. Purifiers times 3. 2x5s and a 10. 10 with Incinerators. So we're close combat Purifiers today. A Storm Raven Gunship. One Razorback and Nemesis Dread Knight. I've heard a lot to tell about this Storm Raven gunship, and the interesting things it can do. I haven't seen it myself personally, but there's certainly some interesting stuff. It doesn't teleport itself because it's not to Psyker, but it can deliver the infantry, and then it's also a good like central location for the Purifiers to in and out, right? So they can run in the Interceptors, so they can run in and do stuff, and then go vibe. The other thing too is that you could like, for example, like dump a Purifier squad in the mid board and run it out, and then Hallowed Beacon off of it, so you can use it to deliver your other Purifiers as well. And it's just a big resilient thing that you can go run around with. Plus, it shoots pretty well, so getting rerolls on it's pretty nice. 280 points is a lot though, but I guess in the comparison to a Nemesis Dread Knight, it's like an almost similar level of shooting. Running Twin Plasma, Multi-Melta, Storm Strike. Curious. Let's look at these weapon profiles for a sec here. So the Storm Strike, it comes with 2, so it shoots 2, 10, 3, D6 plus 2 damage missile shots. The heavy plasma cannon's 3 shots. It's 3 shots blast? That can't be right. Is that real? Is that is that what it says in the codex? Or is that a typo? Should that be D3? 3 shots blast doesn't do anything. That's bizarre. Okay. And then Hurricane Bolters shoots a million times. It's actually very, very relevant. It's just better than the Storm Raven. Yeah, I think the Space Marine one. I think the Storm Strike missile launchers are not as good because they have that in an FAQ. Yeah, they're 3 damage instead of D6 plus 3 or D6 plus 2. This one also says D3 to shots for the heavy plasma. That's got to be typoed, right? I'm curious. Because you wouldn't put blast on a non-random damage weapon. Because it's just a useless keyword. I mean, it's better to have flat 3 for 3, I think, rather than the D3 that you might get upside on against heavy infantry. If they're running like 10 Terminators, it's slightly better. But it would be unfortunate to have those 2 keywords linked. According to Art of War? Well, according to the FAQ. It's in the Grey Knights FAQ, chat. We had a whole discussion about it and how funny it was. Because, like, here's the thing is, like, sometimes people are like, well, clearly things are typoed or whatever. And then they went and they released, let's grab the Grey Knight. It's in the faction pack now. They went and released the FAQ. When the FAQ said, is this a typo? Answered no. And it was like, it was the thing that people immediately pointed to. Oh, they get rid of it? Wait, they got rid of that update, that FAQ? What the fuck? It was in here. Well, that sucks. Just kidding, chat. That was only a couple weeks ago where they had that. But people pointed to that as like a pretty clear indication that like you can't necessarily assume intent on the or rules register parts. That's obnoxious, actually. I do kind of like that they got rid of that because it was annoying that they just had an FAQ that didn't make any meaningful changes to the game. It just confirmed that the stats that they wrote were the stats that they wrote. Like, all right, do we need this? I don't think so. But it is what it is. You can put the Venerable Dreadnought in the Storm Raven gunship. Instant metagame. If people ran Venerable Dreadnoughts, yeah. But the Venerable Dreadnought, I think, is better teleporting around. I love that little guy. I kind of wish he was like 10 or 15 points less. He feels a little expensive at 140 because he's so easy to kill. A lot of things like you would get activated on by like a 3 damage weapon, he would immediately die. But the Grey Knight's Venerable Dreadnought's kind of sick, actually. Oops. I have my chair over here, chat. Yeah. Anyway. It would be cooler. The other thing is that I think he wants to be, now that he's a character, he wants to be an enhancement caddy, and there's really no good enhancements in like the entire faction. Grey Knights have basically like the worst selection of enhancements in the entire game. They're just like unspeakably bad in most cases. Or they have a bunch of like random requirements. Whereas we're looking at Space Marines or like, World Eaters and stuff, and Adeptus Custodians are like, get 1,000,000 extra damage on your melee attacks. You'd be like, oh, cool, I'd love one of those. And Grey Knights are like, get 1,000,000 extra damage on a Tuesday when Mercury's in retrograde, and you are within 12 inches of 17, no more, no less enemy models. You can get +1 damage. You're like, okay, thank you. I appreciate that, G-Dub. Thank you so much. Still haven't buffed yours to strength 26, AB4, damage 30. I know. It's unacceptable. Finally, Tyranids will be playable once that happens. Let's start talking about some of these big names, chance. I want to talk about Olivier Weiss. What's he rocking with today? It is Ravenguard Gladius Task Force. Wait a minute. What is this? This man fucking cooks. By the way, he went to Olivier, I believe it was Olivier Weiss, who last year at WCW showed up with Company of Hunters. Unironically, he goes, I'm going to play Ravenguard today. With like just a bunch of Vindicators. And he was like, I don't know. It's just like, it's like Gladius Task Force, but I get Tactical and Devastator Doctrine permanently and I don't have to think about it. Which is fucking nuts. What do you think? What do you consider it? You're like, oh yeah, actually that is like better. This man's running Gladius Task Force, Ravenguard. He's like, he saw Shadow Mark Talon. He's like, a bunch of free strats, uppy downy +1 AP Centurions. No, I would play double jump pack captains. That's sick. So it's 2 Power Fist jump pack captains. 1 is Honor Vehement for extra strength and attacks. Ethan Sean plus Caven plus Artificer Armor Combi Lieutenant. Okay. We've got Intercessor Squad, triple Assault Intercessors with jump packs. These guys are fucking nuts, by the way. I think they get a little overshadowed in Shadow Mark Talon by Ethan Sean and all his weird shit and all the stuff you do with, Centurions and all that stuff. But Assault jump pack Intercessors go to OC2 with Caven. So for 90 points, and in Gladius Task Force, right, you can pay SAP to put them in Assault Doctrine. You get a unit that can advance and charge, has OC2 and 20 melee attacks. So they're just the best unit at taking enemy objectives, basically like in the whole game. Move 12 plus D6. They attack 1,000,000 times. You can oath them with their target. They can just go in and blow out your objective. Even if they don't kill the unit on the objective, they're almost certainly auto-seeing you. They're insanely strong. 2 units of 6 Inceptors with Assault Bolters so that we can use ignore cover strat, a Storm of Fire on them. If you're in Devastator Doctrine, these guys go kind of insane. They go to AP2, ignore cover, full rerolls. If you have incursors in the list, which we don't, why would we? Then you can like ping +1 to hit on a target, and you full reroll fishing for sustains. And the unit's damage output's actually pretty crazy. The downside is when you start to go, if you go into T9, they basically kill the universe. As soon as you go to T10 plus, because they're strength 5 only, they start to fall off in a big way. And you're almost better off going with like more dedicated anti-tank shooting units like Hellblasters or laser cannon squads or whatever. But the benefit is that these guys are good at anything, right? They can, if you fully combo them, they can like put a bunch of damage into a vehicle. It's like a not unreasonable chance that they knock like a T10 12 wounder. If you don't have any defensive strats going on. However, they will also just like, basically just straight up kill 20 models, right? If you're shooting into a big squad. So unlike many of those other units, these guys are incredibly well-rounded. They're good into everything, effectively. We have a scout squad for utility, 30 Vanguard veterans plus a Calidus assassin. They all have Inferno pistols. This feels like a man who played Shadowmark Talon and was like, oh, the thing where we rapid ingress, oath something, move Inferno Pistolet, charge the transport occupants. That's really cool. That's all I want to do. I don't want to do anything besides that. All I want to do is put 30 dudes to 20 to 10 dudes down, shoot a vehicle to death, charge an infantry squad, pass the turn. If you do that 3 times, most armies are dead. This list is cool as fuck. It's like Shadowmark Talon with none of the tricks and only all gas. I love it. I guess also in a situation where you're expecting more comprehensive terrain layouts and you're not expected to play on chapter-approved terrain layouts, so you're playing like WTC or you're playing these FEQ terrains, which the terrain layouts, which seem great, very well constructed. The focusing on the very long-range shooting attacks, especially off the board edges like Centurions, is probably less reliable. And so just doing with Vanguard veterans seems better. And if all you're doing is playing Vanguard veterans and you're not just gonna like try to blow people out round 1 with rapid ingressing top of 1, then you might as well just fucking play Gladius. Who cares? That's really fun. I love that. I love that chat. Guard doesn't have that many good enhancements. What? Get out of here. You have Indomitable Steed. You have Veteran Crew. You have the one that gives you extra order, Collimator Fire, and what's the other one? Grand Strategist. Bellicose, what is it? Bellicosa Vox Array or whatever. on Bridgehead Strike, which nobody plays anymore. The detachment's bad, but then enhancement's fucking rules. I don't know. I think Guard had some great ones. Tyranids finally winning. Hard counter, no transports. You can't get my transport with your Inferno pistols if I just don't have any in the faction. Get absolutely slapped. Good job, Tyranids. You finally done it, boys. That list is really cool. That list is exactly what I like out of Space Marines. Also, Bolter and Scepters are one of my favorite units in the entire game. I'm so glad they're seeing play. They're just so fun to resolve. You get to roll dice, and then you get to add more dice, then you get to roll the dice again, and then you get to roll the dice a third time. It's crazy. It's so fun. Let's talk about that, man. We're gonna fall off so hard here. Let's talk about Manny Chima, I guess. Nothing against Manny Chima, but this is regular Aspect Host. We talked about a cool aggro Ravenguard Gladius task force. We're gonna go to Aspect Host. All right, it's Azerman, Fuegan, Chainsaw. I like it. Swift Serpent, Dire Avengers for Azerman, Falcon, Fire Dragons, Banshees ×3, Rangers ×2, Swimming Hawks ×3, Warlock Skyrunner. Oh, he's seeing some play. That's cool. I'm surprised that this guy fell off the radar. I guess it's tough because they kept increasing the cost of Aspect Warriors because they're like so strong. And so you just had to start cutting out your utility chaff, and you're like, we'll just do it with Warp Spiders. It's fine. But Warlock Skyrunners are still move 14 non-character single entity model or single entity unit. So they just like hide in a little crevice somewhere, and then you're like, oh, I got area denial. Run this 40-point dude out. Plus they shoot like 7 times. They throw, if you take the spear, they throw their spear, shoot a Twin Link's catapult, and then destructor you. It's kind of weird. how much damage they do. Into like T3 enemies, they're very scary. Bigger stuff, it's not so bad, but. Hi, Inky. And we got 15 warp spiders. Yeah, it's certainly an Eldar list. There's a cat, by the way. Inky, you want to be on camera? I think you do. I'm trying to move you into frame. I don't know, something. Oh, my chair's stuck. That's okay. Hi, baby. Well, that certainly is Eldar. One of the Eldar lists of all time. Talk about Alexander Sacco, running Emperor's Children. Got a Coterie of the Conceited. I think, is this basically identical to what we saw Liam VSL play? Oh, it's slightly different. He has three rhinos instead of two. So it's double Demon Prince, triple Exultant, triple Infractor, double Tormentor, Flawless Blades, triple Noisy Boys, Chaos Rhino. I think it just trades a Rhino, a Tormentor squad for a Rhino. I think that's literally the only difference. I think Liam had, I want to say he had more Tormentors, less Rhinos. But in this, either way, it's like basically the same. Yeah, we're kind of at a monolist here. I love that Shadow Mark list, chat. But I'm going to be real with you. The rest of these were basically normal versions. They were like hyper meta for all of their particular lists, which I guess makes sense. When you're at 400 players and the upper echelon of competitive play is exactly, this caliber of player, I think you probably have to pull out all the stops. So playing like silly pet lists is almost certainly not going to go as far as playing just basically the normal stuff. But we did have some interesting ones. Obviously, Hearthband, Leagues of Votann is pretty neat. Shadow Mark Talon, or non-Shadow Mark Talon, Ravenguard is very cool. Adeptus Mechanicus with basically all melee push is neat as well. So definitely a couple of interesting picks in there, but for the most part, these are largely just kind of standard lists that we would see at any old GT or whatever. Now the downside is that I don't know if this event used ranked tables. I think they must have. Yeah, it does look like they did, because we do have all these players towards the top. The downside is that it's hard to look through like X1s here, because we... Oh, what have I done? Yeah, I can't see player record either because of the way that the event has worked out. There's 1,000 Suns here. I imagine that this guy's 5-1. Or maybe 5-0. How many? So 400 players and you go 5 rounds. In Swiss pairing, you should have 200, 100, 50, 25. After going into round 5, you should have, what, 12 undefeated? 12 to 13? So I guess they did have to take some X and Ys to make the top 8, probably. So these players might have been X and 2. Oh, damn, dude. Vincent Rabuel here is running a Hexwarp Thrall Band. What? That's insane. Wait, what does Hexwarp Thrall Band even do? That's crazy. So that's for those who rightly don't remember, that's the Grotsmith detachment from last year for Thousand Suns that basically immediately died. Everyone was like, it was like you get a weird Shadow of Chaos like Warpbane Task Force effect, but the other option is that you take Cult of Magic, which was like plus range, devastating wounds, army wide, all game. Like a bunch of buffs to your Kabbalistic rituals. It was great. Like the difference was insane. Now I bet it's a lot closer. Now that Grand Coven, the new version, is significantly less powerful and keeps getting nerfed as well. So Hexwarp Thrallband, it gives you Flow of Magic, which is a zone control effect. So your deployment zone becomes your Flow of Magic. If you have the 2 objectives in the center, then you gain it in the center. If you take your opponent's home objective, then you gain it in your opponent's deployment zone. You get permanent reroll 1s on psychic attacks. Or if you are inside flow of magic, you gain +1 to wound instead. The weird part about it, and this has not changed, is that if you have Rubric Marines already reroll their 1s to wound inside their unit. So if you have psychic weapons attached to Rubric Marines, they won't get the benefit of the detachment ability at all. It doesn't do anything. They will get it if you get flow of magic, though, which is a little difficult. Especially since... And we talked about this when this came out, and I don't think any of these interactions have changed. Since you cast your Kabbalistic rituals at the start of the shooting phase, 100% of the time now, there's no way for you to take an objective in order to alter flow of magic if you don't hold it at the end of your movement phase. So one thing you oftentimes do with Rubric Marines is because the objective control matters quite a bit for them, is you'll move them off an objective so that your opponent holds it at the end of movement and then move to take it. However, if you take the objective with your normal movement in this detachment, then you won't get the rerolls from the Rubric Marine ability on it. However, you might get flow of magic, so you give a slighter bonus to the other unit. But if you need to Temporal Surge to get the objective, you don't get flow of magic on it because it doesn't recheck its level of control until the end of the shooting phase. It's like mechanically very poorly written. So it's so fascinating that we got a lot of use out of it in this game. That said, it's permanent reroll 1s to wound if you don't have anything else going on, which is good for like Magnus. It's good for like Terminators. Reroll 1s to wounds for psychic weapons anyway. We have a Empiric Onslaught guy, which is +3 attacks to your psychic weapons if you're inside flow of magic. Oh, and it's a sorcerer, so he goes to 12 attacks with sustain. It's actually kind of insane. His man averages like 18 hits on his go turn. Anyway, that's funny. With potentially +1 wound if you're in flow. Okay. Anything cool we can do? We can obsec stuff with Psychers, just like Grand Coven does. You can gain the fucking benefit of cover and stealth. You can smoke screen your infantry, basically. You can fight on death. Fall back and shoot. You can up down Rubric Marines or Scarab Occults for a command point. Oh, no, excuse me. You choose a unit in Strat Reserve and then bring them from Strat Reserve 6 inches away as long as you're inside flow of magic, and then you can charge. Okay. Yeah, I'd be worried that this particular version of this list has trouble holding the center, but maybe I'm wrong. I guess, like, you kind of always want to force, like, fights over the center because you have a million Warp Flamers and stuff, but I don't know. The Scarab Occult Terminators do seem like an interesting inclusion here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 units of Rubric Marines to attach the characters. You have Exalted Sorcerer, +2 Sorcerers. Oh, an extra Rubric Marine unit, actually. I guess one of them can start in reserve, and then you can Deep Strike it if you ever get good flow of magic. And then Scarab Occult Terminators, which seems great. Triple Zangor plus Enlighten plus 2 Spawn and a Rhino. Bunch of utility. That's a wild list. I would love to see that played. It feels not good, but I bet it's better than I give it credit for. That's really fun. That's really fun and cool. Any other cool stuff, chance? Oh, Manny Chima absolutely annihilated Thousand Suns going into top cut. Disgusting. Got Orcs, Clement Cordio. Oops. Is it cool Orcs or is it Warhorde with normal stuff? Inky's running around in circles right next to me, by the way. She's like a dog chasing her tail. It is Warhorde. It's kind of a normal Warhorde list. Well, we have Zodgrad. That's fun. Zodgrad's good. The fact that this unit is 170 points blows my fucking mind. And it's so impactful. The big 9-inch scout and then like just fucking jail your opponent immediately unit is it's impossible to kill. Is crazy. Just does the same thing. Yeah, she's very quiet usually. She usually just sleeps. Although I bet she's agitated right now because I'm washing a bunch of my, I'm doing a bunch of my laundry. So I stripped all the. She usually sits on my bed, and I stripped all my bed clothes and stuff. And she's like, "No, my nest. What the fuck?" But she was getting a little sweaty, so it was getting a little grody. Well, I think that's all the list I want to talk about out of this event, chat. I think go ahead and ramp up the discussion today. Actually, I was interested to see. I'm going to do a quick search here because I'm interested to see. We had a little bit of a discussion this weekend about White Scars, and give you a preview. I kind of want to talk about White Scars for a sec because they're in my brain right now. They're like embedded. I want to see if anyone else is playing them currently. It would be within the last weekend. We're going to do a BCP list search, which never works. This is basically always a waste of time. But, we can't even search for White Scars because they're not even their own faction. Fuck. God damn it. But I am curious because I think they're really good. And I'm wondering if it catches on. I don't think they're as good as Shadowmark Talon. I want to be clear. Keep catching my headphone cord. I apologize. I don't think they're as like straightforwardly good as Shadowmark Talon. But if we see a situation where Shadowmark Talon gets nuked, which it might, I have a sneaking suspicion turn 1 Rampant Ingress is going to go away, which it should have the first time they printed Hunter's Instincts. But it's taken them a while. There's an Imperial Fist. It's undefeated at a GT, by the way. Alex Eady, who has played in the Discord server many times. So it might be a familiar name if you play T5S2 events. I don't know if he's played recently, but Berserk Crusaders load up 2. This is just a 3-round RTT. Man played Stormlance Task Force Imperial Fist. What the fuck? It's Darneth Lysander with a steel chair. Lysander's a fucking insane data sheet, by the way, chat.
Ryan G donated $2 through Super Chat. Could we look at Golden Demon winners?
Yeah, we can look at that. Yeah, let me finish my tirade about Stormlance Task Force. So shoot me a link to where they're posted. I actually have no idea. Lysander's like kind of a nuts data sheet, by the way. I love what they've done. I hope that this is a showcase of 11th edition, because most of the characters, the new character data sheets for Space Marine characters in the new codexes, the new subfactions, they have an ability which just always works. In some cases, all of their abilities always work. Suboden, but for example, his unit can walk through walls, and his unit can advance and charge, and they're just always on. So even if he loses his attached unit, none of his abilities go away. And the same with Lysander. Lysander just gives his unit -1 to be wounded if your strength is equal or higher than his toughness. So strength 5 or higher, you get -1 to wound him permanently. And it works on him himself. And he's a 7 wound Terminator character with a once per game 2+ invulnerable save. There's almost no chance that when this guy's unit dies, he also dies. He basically gets to like a free interrupt because he almost 100% of the time gets charged. His unit's dead. He kills something, goes to your turn, and kills something again. He's fucking nuts. He's, for 100 points, he's like insanely powerful. Vukami Weapon Lieutenant, Intercessor Squad, double Inceptors. We can use, because they have Assault and Inceptors, you can use the stratagem in this attachment to give them plus sustained hits, which is pretty good. So you can have sustained hit Plasma Exterminators, which is pretty wild. And Cursor Squad for +1 to hit. Outrider Squad for mounted synergies. We have a Reaver Squad. We can advance and charge and steal objectives from people. It's cool as fuck. I was almost wondering too if like these guys are good in Stormglaive as well. I'm like, they're close. They're close. They're a little slow, I think, to begin with. But if you can take it with because they can take grab shoots for deep strike, you can ingress them and then just steal objectives really easily. I don't think you have the CP in this outside of Ultramarines, generally speaking, but it's actually pretty neat if you have army-wide advance and charge. Terminator Assault Squad ×2 Vindicator, so we can just teleport Homer for free and then just run into combat. twice, and you just stagger 2 of them. Fuck me. That's a sick army. That's cool as fuck. I did not expect to see something that neat. Carnage 28. Oh, by the way, they sponsored a couple videos. Hope that event went well. Looks like we saw some Shadow Mark Talon get some work done. Thanks to them for supporting the channel, by the way. They've been a longtime supporter. I've attended that event too. It's gorgeous. It was so funny because I was there hawking Breachstorm. I had a booth, and I showed up and fucking Joe's there from War Games Live, and I was like, wait, what are you doing here? This is like a little podunk like LG like local gaming con, and he's like, I don't know, there's a 40k like GT, so I'm streaming it. I was wild in the like middle of upstate Vermont on what do you call it, on a ski resort. I was like, what's up, Joe? Nice to see you, buddy. It was pretty weird, but the venue was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. All right, I can't find any cool ones, chats. So I think I might give up. I do want to talk about why I think this detachment's really cool, though. Let's pull it up. I have it saved on my hard drive. So, Ruben Zhao won a GT this weekend with Spear Point Task Force. And I've recorded a video getting started in White Scar's video. So I did a bunch of list theory with Spear Point. And I think that this detachment is criminally underrated. Here's why. So let's consider for a moment the best detachment in 40k, Gladius Task Force. What does Gladius Task Force let you do? This is like kind of the thought process I went through. I was like, what is Gladius Task Force? The big benefits. You get a very good reactive move on your infantry. Okay, cool. That gets bonuses if you're in your fallback thing. So first of all, you can tactical doctrine to fall back and do stuff. Well, this detachment lets you fall back and charge permanently all the time, right? So you get half of tactical doctrine permanently. You also get all of assault doctrine permanently. So you basically get 50% of the Gladius Task Force detachment ability on all of your units all the time, right? A full doctrine plus half of a different doctrine. The other thing is you have a stratagem for every other part of Gladius Task Force. You can fall back or advance and still shoot on anything in your army. I was like, oh my god. All right, so when we consider it, there is a you get most of the doctrines permanently, and then you have a strat to get all the doctrines on a 1 unit per turn, right? Every doctrine. And in fairness, in my opinion, assault doctrine is probably the most useful doctrine, right? Because more often than not, when you're charging, you're going to have to advance to get to close. So you get the best doctrine all the time. And then you can pay to get any other doctrine. Your reactive move is strictly superior to squad tactics. It's infantry or mounted, same restrictions, but it's always 6 inches. It doesn't require a doctrine, right? So like, all right, well, we're right now a side grade. You get a side graded Honor the Chapter. It doesn't give you +1 EP, and that's the one way that this detachment struggles compared to Gladius Task Force. You don't have a AP bonus. However, you can get Lance for CP, or if you already have Lance, you get lethal hits. So, I don't know. It's mostly worse than Honor the Chapter, but it's a bit of a side grade. And then in addition, you get a ton of mounted and flying vehicle synergies. So for the most part, if we consider, if we're like, big benefits of Gladius Task Force are Lance, we have it, right? Advance and charge, we have it. Fall back and charge, we have it. Advance and shoot, we have it. Fall back and shoot, we have it. 6-inch reactive move, we have it. Better version. How about Storm of Fire? Do we have Storm of Fire? Yes. It's right here. In fact, Hunter's Eye is just basically Storm of Fire stuck to the updated version of what's the word? Fire Discipline, right? It gives you Fire Discipline gives you sustained hits 1. This one gives you sustained hits 1 and permanently Storm of Fires your unit. So it's not on everything, but we do still have access to the effect, right? We obviously don't get +1 AP. We do have an AP bonus on Spear Point Paragon, which is in fairness worse than Honor Vehement. But I don't know if Honor Vehement's like the reason that we're playing Gladius Task Force to begin with, right? It's just a nice bonus. So I was like, worst case scenario, Spear Point Task Force, I think, ends up being just a side grade from Gladius. It's like a Gladius Task Force where you don't have to use your adaptive strategy quite as often. You just have to use it when you need to do things like to shoot and still do other stuff. And then you also get Suboden, who's actually kind of nuts. The downside is that you can't play Black Templars and you can't play Ultramarines. But if we ever see an instance where Black Templars and Ultramarines are not like very viable, I think immediately Spear Point Task Force like invalidates Gladius. Which is pretty wild. I guess you can't do like ignore cover on repulsor executioners without help. But also, your Storm Speeders are the best Storm Speeders in the game. So you're going to be playing Hammer Strikes in this attachment because you have -1 to hit and wound on them, and you have up-downs, and they naturally Deep Strike. So you can be like Deep Striking Hammer Strikes on your opponent on turn 1. Or like bottom of 1. Like, I don't know, chat. This attachment seems really, really good. And then Suboden, we talk about Suboden for a second here. Suboden with a unit of Outriders basically like answers a lot of melee armies. He himself is like super crazy. I was doing some math in my head. I was like, this power sword effect, this power sword profile is actually kind of whatever. I had written it off, and then I remembered if he's in an Outrider squad, he gets +1 damage and strength. So his power sword on the charge goes to strength 6, 2 damage, and then for a command point, you can lance it. So it wounds almost every infantry in the game on 2s with 8 2-damage melee attacks. With lethal hits also. And then, once he kills you, he runs away. He has access to a reactive move. And if he's swinging at something big, he can just swing his big spear, which will wound you mostly on 4s, and hit you for 3 damage each. And I was like, this guy's kind of nuts, actually. Plus, he can advance shoot and charge, so you can shoot all your bolt rifle shots plus a heavy onslaught Gatling cannon. Which is not nothing, right? The unit shot fires 14 times with like very reasonable offensive profiles. And you can pay SCP in Spear Point Task Force to give him +1 to advance and charge. And then on top of that, even if you kill his Outriders, which in fairness are a very difficult unit to kill, especially with -1 to be hit and wounded if you have the opportunity to use that strat. He himself, he only loses the +1 damage. He doesn't need any other attribute from the Outrider squad. He only wants their passive datasheet effect. So he himself still swings, right, 6 to 8 times with AP2, 1 to 2 damage. And still moves through walls. He's still, if he kills, like if he goes in and he's able to kill like a 5-man utility unit, he will still reactive move 6 inches. He's 8 wounds at T5, so there's like not unreasonable he lives. So there's a very reasonable chance that even if you can't extricate this guy from melee after he kills his charge target, he'll still just live and then get to do it again. So he himself is like, he basically solves a lot of your melee issues by himself. And then you also have Corsaro Khan if you really need another melee beat stick. So obviously, I think this attachment's worse than like you don't get the character support from Ultramarines, you don't get the crazy like offensive characters you get in like Black Templars. But I was like, man, White Scar is actually really good. It's definitely not as good as like the top, I would say 3-ish other Space Marine like Gladius Task Force builds. But I think if any of those get nerfed, I think White Scar is immediately there. And if you are playing in like a semi-competitive, like small table setting, like this army, if you're played correctly, will like ruin RTT level games, right? Like maybe it will struggle against the upper echelons of the metagame against in like GT or super major size events, but like when you're talking about like lower level competitive games, it's good enough to go the distance for sure. I was wild on Hellblasters, yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's multiple, and I was like thinking about it. I was like, So yeah, like you could play it with Hellblasters. It's great because you can put a lieutenant in the Hellblaster squad and you get sustained lethal. You can incursor it for +1 to hit and then full reroll to fish for sustained lethals. And you have AP3 ignore cover 2 damage ranged attacks that potentially double fire. That's already nuts. But then I was like, you could also do it with aggressors. If we ever get to a point where aggressors aren't overcosted, you can have Boltstorm aggressors with most of the components of the old Fire Discipline combo. You put a Apothecary Biologus in them, and they're lethal sustain, and they can advance, shoot, and charge. So you can have like a big brick of them, disembark like a Land Raider Redeemer, advance, shoot their guns at the closest target. It's all AP1, ignore cover, sustain, lethal, twin linked. And then they charge, and they also get to fight. I was like, wait a minute, this unit's crazy. And like, that's not even maybe the best use case for it. You could also do it on like Sternguard veterans. Like, I was like, I think this detachment's actually kind of sick. I don't want to say I think it's like the best Space Marine list or anything, but I think that a lot of people wrote it off. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I kind of, am I a White Scars main? Have I been a White Scars main this whole time? I just never noticed. I did play them in 9th edition. I love them. But I don't know. Any chat. Anyway, chat. Look forward to other units getting reworks with similar conditional buffs. Oh, like with like leadership abilities working permanently. Yeah, that's how leadership abilities should have worked out the whole time. The requirement for things to be leading units to get bonuses is like blowing my mind a lot because it restricts, like generally speaking, if you are and I think this is the we'll get to a codex cycle tangent in a moment here, chat. As we do every week. I feel like we're getting to the point. Hey, thanks for the membership, Treville. That's a good name, by the way. That's a solid one. I feel like we're getting to the point where, and this happens every edition, the design team has learned how to design for the edition. And they've been like, oh, okay, if we make a character who's designed to synergize with a unit, and the two complement each other to the point where, while they are greater than the sum of their parts while together, but not useless separate, then you have a bunch of interesting ways to play. You could play Subodenkhan with no attachments, and he's honestly, in Spear Point Task Force, probably fine. He's a dude with 8 melee attacks who runs through walls, and when he kills a unit, he runs back through the wall. That's fucking great. He's maybe not worth 115 points, but as soon as you put him with an Outrider squad, he's certainly worth the combination, because he like doubles his damage. And the fact that there's so many characters, my favorite's like Jane Czar. Like Jane Czar's like hyper competent fucking Howling Banshee lady. And then you overwatch her Howling Banshee unit to death and she immediately dies because she has no impact by herself. And it's like, the fuck is this? Why? So why even make the character separate from the unit at that point, right? If the only way to make the character viable is to put them in the unit, then just make like a unit and it's Jane Czar and 6 people. Like make a combined thing, and you don't have to even write leader abilities. And it's like, I hope that I'm worried that they'll forget all about this, and we'll have to go another 3 years for them to finally figure out how to utilize the leader ability in a way that's interesting and cool. But I hope that if we get a Redux in 11th edition, most, if not all, leader abilities in the game work like that, where they affect the unit, which includes the character by themselves. So you could play them by themselves if you want to. Or if they lose their unit, they're not dead, but their unit gives a reciprocal ability to the character. I also think that like there's the opposite is true, where there's a bunch of unit abilities that explicitly don't buff their character, and I think that's bad design. Because they just reduce synergy. If you have an ability that you're like, if this applied to an attached character, it would be too strong, then change the ability. That's all I have to say. Anyway, chat. Oh, if you already have the thing, you also get the second thing? Yeah, that's cool. For sure. That expands their like variety of play, right? Because then you can play them in other places too. All right. So we're looking at Golden Demons, folks. Golden Demon from Eschenspiel. Look at this Kroot. Straight out of Dark Heresy. Honestly, the Groot looks great. The base is fucking awesome. The highlighting on the rock is like a little extreme, but it almost looks like it's a reflected ripple from the water, which I don't think that's the intention, but I'm gonna take it like it is, because I think it's cool as fuck. That looks phenomenal. There's an Archon. It's a little like, it's funny because like looking at this with your eyeball, you could literally never tell. But if you zoom in, if you're like, you take it with high def photography and you're like, it's a little messy. If you compare it to this, where all the transitions are perfectly smooth, this one doesn't look very good. But obviously, like, I could never fucking tell if I was looking at it in person. I'd be like, this is the greatest miniature I've ever looked at. In fact, the fact that it's a little rougher, actually, I bet makes this look better in person. Because you can tell the transitions. This is a callback to the old like Eldar Codex cover, right? Third, was it like third or Rook Trader? Isn't there? There's a piece of artwork, right? The highlights on the headdress certainly make it look like that. I know that the Golden Demon judges are always like, they fucking love that shit. They think that's the coolest shit. It was when you call back to old artwork. I could have sworn that was a piece of art. Maybe it just looks, maybe it's just the same like vibe as the old second edition, like cartoony artwork. Now I can't find it. I could have sworn this is artwork. Is that? Am I crazy, chat? I love that Fuegan has almost never his. Oh, did they reposition his axe? No, that's just a standard assembly, actually. Oh, hi, Inky. What's up? I love that he basically hasn't changed in every edition. He's like the same miniature every time. Is it like a fire dragon? No, fire dragons don't have the headdress. It's a Fuegan thing. I could have sworn there was a piece of art that had this like glimmer to it. There she is. What's up, baby girl? But now I can't find it, so I'm gonna give up. Martin Peterson. Sick. I would love these. There's like weathering on the armor, but it's super duper subtle. I would love it to be a little bit more hefty. It almost feels like Space Wolves. I guess it's like the classic color scheme where Space Wolves were super bright and cartoony, but Space Wolves almost feel wrong now when they're not like super bright looking. Whoa! Look at these swooping hawks, though. You know what doesn't feel wrong when they're super bright is fucking swooping hawks. That is a gorgeous job. Also, the OSL here, dude. These are sick. These are super good. Is that supposed to be Titus, by the way? It looks like Titus, or is it Cassius? No, Cassius. I can never. The problem with Ultramarine characters is you can never tell them apart. Now Cassius is just Cassius. He just has his Crozius. I think it looks like Titus. That looks. I bet that's supposed to be Titus. Yeah, Plasma looks amazing. And then the fire on the salamander guy, brother. Hell yeah. This is another Def Killer War Trike. I love that. I love that they fucking put the tire the tire brand on. Like orcs have tire manufacturers. They just like brand their tires, fucking from Michel Orc or whatever. You know, that's Ventress. Oh, that's what it looks like. Is Ventress a Deathwatch guy? This is another one where the base is almost more impressive than the miniature. By the way, speaking of Orc Def Killer War Trikes, they released recently the Def Copta for Speed Freaks, and it's fun as fuck. We got to go back to Speed Freaks at some point. I have like so much work to do this week that I'm probably not going to have too much time to play it. I slacked off a little bit last week because I was really tired after CEO, but I have a shit ton to do this week. By the way, you're getting probably 2 to 3 more videos before the end of the week. I have a Storm Spear getting started video recorded. I have a Ravenguard video that should be out tomorrow, and then I have another Tactics video that I want to finish. By the way, this base is sculpted. I want to point out it's not a base with the terrain over it. The terrain is constructed into the base. You can see that it divots where the path of the tracks go. That's so fucking cool. I bet that's like clay sculpted and then has basic material put over it. Absolutely gorgeous. Who cares about models? We should have Golden Demon, but everyone's a stealth suit. They just don't put models on the bases. They just do cool basing. Speaking of cool basing, we go to this fucking sick ass Redemptor Dreadnought. Look at this guy. This got silver. What? Why? It's gorgeous. That's all freehand. And it's stepping on a poor little goober. That's what happens to my Turvagon whenever I play ranked on Warforge. Dude, that's insane. What the fuck? Ornate, indeed. Euro Ventress was Deathwatch the second Ventress model? His model's pulled from the site. Well, hopefully he gets legendary. Fuck that guy. Real Ventress pisses me off. He's like, he's such a. He could just be a captain, and I appreciate that they give the characters their own data sheets. I think that's cool and fun. But man, he's such an Ultramarine, like just a piece of like he's an incredibly powerful character that would be transformative in any other faction. But like, just Ultramarines are like, oh, I don't even really run him anymore. Oh, okay, because you have too many unique characters that are too powerful. He had to be nerfed. He was so strong. I don't know. I want to point out that it looks to me, I believe this is the case. The shadow on the barrel here for the Onslaught Gatling Cannon is painted on. He's highlighted the top of or non-metal metallics, the top of the Gatling Cannon barrels, the rotary cannon. However, this this gun shield here thing is has a shadow painted over the highlight. That's fucking nuts. That's crazy, dude. Oh yeah, I saw this guy. It's insanely well executed. By the way, it's probably hard to tell in the stream. He has like texture painted into his coat. It's like stippled. Wild. What a time. More good basing. We love to see it. Oh, look at that. They're just fucking going through a forest, dude. Bro, there. That's awesome. Kipo. A Kipo of secrets. Sick. Cool beans, chat. This is like just straight out of a illustration. This just looks like it's coming out of a codex. It's like wild. The faithfulness to the source material is insane here. And the shading on the silver or the bronze down here is like nuts. That's crazy. That looks like it's rendered. Like that looks, I don't know. It's somehow the parts in shadow are better than the shiny metallic parts. Like the shiny metallic parts, like non-metal metallic up here that highlights up to a white, is fucking awesome. However, the parts that are underneath his hand somehow are smoother. It looks like dirtier almost. Maybe that's the idea. Fuck. If so, crazy. Do I think anyone has ever eaten a golden demon mini? Almost certainly. There's a mini wargaming used to do a thing where it was like I forget what it was. It was a competition by the end you blended your miniature in a blender. And I don't remember why they did that, but I think it was a painting competition. I believe that it was a painting competition. And then at the end, I think that the way it worked is that you would submit a model and then everyone would vote for the model. And the model that lost got blended. I think that's how it worked. I remember I was like demoing games while they were doing it at Adepticon one year. And it was like the loudest thing I'd ever experienced. It was wild. This is crazy. This got bronze over this? I guess this is smoother. But like this one's so much more faithful to the artwork and more technically like interesting. This is just like this looks dry brushed almost. That's weird. This also has like the cool like painted base with the tufts. I guess these are just like army painter tufts. Maybe they weren't that interested in it. Like this is more interesting, like the showcase, I guess. I don't know. That's wild to me that this one did not win. I did not win at least silver. Whew. Nice. That's cool as fuck. I love the little baby titans. They're just little guys. He's a little guy. He's just a little guy. I have a Warhound Titan like Fonk edit I did for the T-Rex channel for my Final Liberation video. I think it's up on my Patreon for that, but I was very inspired. Oh, look at this fucking guy. Let's go. That's sick. This guy, the Terminator's a little awkward. He's got like 3 arms, I guess, because one's like a tentacle arm. The third one's like a little weird. It doesn't really look like it's meant to look. It kind of looks like it's only there to support the biker. That's a strange one. They just put all our the Black Templars guy is on top of a fucking piece of miracle. He looks so surprised. He's like, "Wait, why are you doing this? What the fuck, dude?" This one almost certainly got the silver for the technical effects, right? Because we have all the spittle and the gross stuff, and then blood. These like weird blood, like goo balls coming out. Like he's full of spider eggs almost or something, or like caviar. It's like super weird looking. I kind of like it. I don't know if it really works that well, but it's like a weird effect. I think it's cool. Actually, the more I look at it, the less I like it. I think in order for this effect to work, I don't know why he's got like weird pustules coming out of him. I don't know why he's got caviar coming out of his head. It doesn't really make sense to me. In order for that look to work, he would have had to paint these the same as the pustules on his body. So it looks like he's like full of them is the idea, I think. But it just looks like he painted a miniature and then just put like little like fucking bobas on them. I don't know. I kind of really don't like that one now. I'm looking at it. It doesn't make sense to me. Also, the Marine is like almost lit differently. Something weird going on. I don't know. It's another thing where his armor's weathered, but the weathering is so subtle it almost looks like he's not. So it just looks like he's just like painted black. Compared to this one, that's like crazy that this one got bronze. Like I think this is still incredible. The basic job is like amazing. Like, come on, dude, what the fuck? Are you kidding me here? That's wild. That makes no sense to me, actually. This beat this? Well, okay, I guess. Oh, great job on the. This just looks like fur. That's really cool. Nice. Good stuff, chat. No, stop me, friend shaped. Yeah. Wait, but I thought we were friends. That's like Beast and Nurgle are the most tragic characters in the entire fucking setting. I just want to be friends with you. Why are you attacking me? It's like so funny. Like it makes so much sense that they scout because they just like race ahead. They're like, guys, more people, let's go. Oh, you know what else he would have to do is like he's got all these cuts in him. If this is like supposed to be like goo that's coming out of the Beast of Nurgle, you should have it coming out of the guts too. This like slashes. This like weird goop thing, like it just doesn't work. It looks so bad. I get the idea, but it feels like it's executed. Like I think if you just did a blood effect here and you got rid of the weird goop, this model would actually look like 20 times better. I like that it's experimental, but come on. I don't know. Wild. Anyway, chat. I think that is going to be it for me today. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with me. I'll be live tomorrow. I don't have any Twitch streams. I might do a Warp Forge stream after this for a little bit, just because like I've been vibing with it for a bit. Oopsies. And I built a new deck I'm excited about, so might do a little Warp Forge stream just for a hot minute. But then I'm hanging out with my friend of mine's birthday today, so I'm going to go do that instead of streaming any games. Should have a game. We have a finals game scheduled tomorrow evening, and then I have a game scheduled on Thursday as well. We'll have Warhamster Wednesday, and you can expect a Ravenguard video tomorrow morning if you are looking for getting started videos. So that should be fun. Hope to have another video, a tactics video out before the end of the week, and then more getting started either later this week or next week. We have the videos recorded. They've been sent to the editor to be edited, and that's what's up. So anyway, folks, that's it. That's what's up. That's what's going on. So yeah, anyway, I'll probably see you over on Twitch in a little bit here, chat. Otherwise, I'm going to be done for right now. Cheers, everyone.